As I forgot to, I should have asked another question because I had to get Suanne. I got Suanne right.
You'll never get my last name, but guess.
Laqueur?
Say that again?
Laqueur?
Oh my God!
See, je parle français comme c'est comme ça. Je comprends français très bien. Mais je ne parle pas français in 20 ans, 25 ans. Like, it's been a long time since I had to speak French, but I know French when
Je parle français, le mauvais français.
Yeah. See, so I recognize French when I see it.
I am super, super impressed because no one gets it right. So
yeah, it's Laqueur because
cheers.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, I should have asked prior to it, but I didn't.
On the fly, we're doing this on the fly.
I always do it on the fly. It's fun that way because you get to really see. So for me, I'm always fascinated by the person because I think the person is as cool as your accomplishments are, and then you have some cool accomplishments, right? It speaks to you personally, and that's the more interesting story. So I had to make sure you get it right because look at my name. See, look at my name. My name is Joshua Pentolaresco.
Joshua, big Italian last name.
Except it's not Italian.
It's not?
Nope.
No. What is it?
No. Maltese.
What is it? Maltese?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes. So and Malta, see, has a neat little island because Malta has a little bit of everything in it. It's got a little Arabic, it's got a little French, it's got a little Roman, it's got a little Greek, it's got a little because everybody's conquered Malta. Everybody.
That's like an old name then, I'm guessing.
Old-ish. I would say at least a few hundred years old for sure. For sure. I don't know because again, Malta's got an interesting history, right? Because it's been conquered by everybody.
Exactly. Because it was a really defensive place in the Mediterranean.
Well, no, it's our offensive place, depending on who you are, right?
Depending what side you were on.
Yeah, depending on which side you were on. So always was a key port. Still is to this day, actually. Because from Malta you can access
Italy, Spain, North Africa.
Yeah, like everything. Rome, like you said, that's why it's always been a major port. Even during the last World War, my grandmother was born and spent the first 3-4 years of her life in a cave because the Germans were bombing Malta. Because everybody does, yeah. So we have a little bit of everybody in it. It's like I can truly say that Malta has a little bit of every culture in it because it's true. Because every culture at one point or another has been there. So there you go.
Fascinating.
Yes, you're like Fasta.
It's fascinating, Josh. Yeah, no, really, it is. No, because I'm a writer. I like names.
Yeah, so that's where mine comes. But again, you're French. What part of the United States you live in?
I live in New York, about an hour and change north of New York City.
Okay. So the interesting thing I know about a last name like that is usually in the United States it goes from Louisiana and it kind of does this winding horseshoe east because when the French originally came over here, that's where they settled.
Well, I'm going to stop you right there. Yeah. Because Laqueur is actually a very old Jewish name.
Oh, really?
Which only came to the United States because of World War II.
It's
not my name. It's my husband's name. It's my married name.
Oh, gotcha.
But we're not really sure what the origins are because it's spelled for those of you playing at home, it's spelled Laqueur. And we don't know where that came from. Everyone says, "Oh, you're French," and I'm like, "Yeah, we're French." Well, it sounds French, but where in France we have absolutely no idea. The soonest we can trace the family back is Prussia.
Well, so interestingly, and Arabic nations and the French do have an interesting history together as well. So it's quite possible, right, that once upon a time,
we're assuming it was in the Alsace region of Germany.
Okay.
So it's an Alsatian name, but we don't know if it's, if they were furniture makers and there was a C in the name, like lacquer, or were they distillers? It was liqueur, literally. Yeah. Or is it like Laqueur, the heart, just weirdly spelled? No one really knows, but there's two branches of the family, one that spells it with 2 U's, like I do, and one that spells it with 1 U. So we get together at family reunions and you have the 2 U branch and the 1 U branch, and each thinks the other spells it wrong.
Oddly, very.
This is what I married into.
Oh, it's okay. Hey, I mean, it sounds like you enjoy it at least a little bit. I mean, even if it's a little silly, I mean, every family's got their quirks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, so you might as well have some fun with them while they're there. But
Before my husband and I met at work, and the new extension list was being passed out. This is way back in, like, the Stone Age of the 1990s. And I saw his name on the list. First of all, it said Laqueur, John Peter. And I was like, that is a cool name.
yes.
So I got connected with the name, and then I met the guy, and
then you like
married him, and
and life has been peaches and cream ever since, or something. It's like
something frozen peaches and cream, frozen peaches and condensed milk. I don't know.
Hey, listen. I mean, you're still here. You're still doing your thing.
I am here.
Yeah. So I mean, today has been I've been doing the freelancer thing now for nearly 3 years, and today I took another big step. I launched my Patreon again.
Nice.
I figured out my offer. Like, I think that was I think the hard thing, and I think this is authors in general, publishers in general. I'm not entirely sure they know what they're offering.
True.
Yeah. You work for a publisher from London. I read your profile. You're a production coordinator on top of being a writer of all things awesome.
I'm vice president of happiness.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because I came from a 25-year career at Verizon doing financial analysis, and then I got laid off from them right at the time. I think I had 3 books out when I got laid off from Verizon, and it just turned out to be really the way it all came together was, like, I would say it was coincidence, but I don't think it was coincidence. I always think everything happens for a reason. And so one of my books won the grand prize in the Writer's Digest Book Awards. This was back in 2018.
Yeah.
That was $8,000. That was like my career peaked right then. But I won that award. Then I got laid off. I went to the award ceremony, and at the book fair the next day, I met the guy who is now my boss at Dark Frog Books.
Yeah.
It all
works out sometimes that way.
Combine, like, a lot of things that I truly loved to do at Verizon, minus the corporate soul-sucking culture of the whole thing. And I get to combine it with my love of writing and my love of books and teaching. And there's a lot of therapy that's involved, especially with first-time authors.
This show is 954 episodes as of this recording, and I could say a good 700 of them have been therapy sessions with creatives in general. About 700, I'd say.
Yep.
Because when you're new, you're like, what? Well, the scary thing is when you start, right? It's like you don't know what you're doing, and then you realize as you get older, you still don't know what you're doing, but you're more confident
in not knowing what you're doing. But and also with anything creative, when you are putting a piece of yourself out into the world, there's like 2 phases. One is the letting go of it to say it's done. Stop picking at it, stop tweaking it, stop polishing it. You enter the great panic before this book is going to go out into the world. And that's where I'm talking a lot of authors off the ledge saying it's done.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's done. And the fact that you've gotten to done, you are so far ahead of so many other people who don't even get to done. So applaud this accomplishment, but you got to let it go. It doesn't belong. And then once it's out there in the world, to promote it and market it, to talk about it, to keep it present, and all those kinds of things are just like a whole other.
Well, that's actually, I find the biggest therapy point for a lot of authors is that imposter syndrome, right? Right. And for me, I equate it to, see, I've said this on a few shows. I am very thankful I'm a professional wrestling fan, because it taught me an awful lot about, you're smiling, but it is the ultimate in self promo, especially like in the Stone Age of 80s and 90s, right?
My company actually produced 2 books by mixed martial artists. So Tom DeBlas wrote a book with us, and then there's another book that we're working on now from from that world.
That's cool.
And
MMA is similar.
they are supremely they are supremely confident.
They have to be. But
Yeah.
okay, like straight up. Okay, seriously, you're going in a cage, locked in with another human being that wants to punch you in the face. Like let's be real here. Like that takes
Yeah.
a certain level of insanity.
Level of balls.
Yeah, I know.
For some of
Balls.
your
Like
show, I just need to know that.
you can swear as much.
Okay.
Listen, I only have 2 rules. Here's the 2
Okay.
rules.
Okay.
Don't be a bigot. And if you're gonna be a dick, be an entertaining one.
Got it.
That's fair? Yeah.
No bigot, entertaining dick. I get
Yeah, exactly. Totally about that. No, I say it like that because no, I mean it takes. I've interviewed like one of the authors I've interviewed is an MMA fighter. Yeah, it takes incredible guts to step in there and you need to be confident. You gotta be like, I'm the fucking man or woman or whatever I identify myself, and I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna kick somebody's ass. And you gotta believe it, because if you don't, you're gonna get run over because the other guy's gonna believe it. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So I mean it takes a certain degree of you have to have that bravado. And I find like with a lot of creative people that just do creative stuff, right? You got to steal a little bit of that bravado because you worked your ass off. Like, it doesn't matter who you are, what kind of book it is, whether it's a pop-up book or whether it's like, the 1,400-page tome Brandon Sanderson puts out every once in a while.
That's what I write.
Yeah. The big giant tomes are also secretly weapons of mass destruction. You can just drop them on somebody and they just go down.
Stops, they can hold up the table leg.
Yeah, all that stuff, right? Those big books. Right? It takes guts. Like, it takes a certain dedication, discipline, drive, and desire to make the book, right? First thing
also the courage to be vulnerable, because you're sharing a lot of yourself. I mean, if you're writing a nonfiction memoir about your childhood of abuse or what have you, and when you're putting it out there, that takes balls. Or you're writing a story that's been within you for 25 years, and you're finally saying, hey, me as a financial analyst, but guess what? I also write. I wrote a book. I wrote a thing.
And I did this, and I did this. Yeah, but see, the last part, it's the last part that people struggle with, right? It's like, it's not, I wrote a book, I did a thing. Like it's that healthy fine line of, because even if you write a fiction story, like let's be honest, we're still telling our story. We're just doing it in a slightly different way.
Every novel is a memoir. Every memoir is a novel.
Absolutely. No, every story you put together is your story at that moment in time. Yeah. I'm writing about really about accepting the monsters within yourself, right? Because as I've gotten older, right, and wiser-ish, we'll put a question mark on the whole wiser thing, because some days I question that. Right, one of the things that I realize is, like, you have to have peace with who you are, but that means confronting not just the good stuff, the stuff you like, although that can be scary too for a different reason, but it's the stuff you don't like. It's the stuff that you can look at and go, I struggle with this, right, and or this is a weakness. And it's accepting that part of yourself, because ironically, it's those weaknesses sometimes that contribute to your strengths, right? They come from those points of view, and you have to be very cognizant. And really what it's really about, what I find is, it's not that you're good or you're bad. Do you have the discipline to control those impulses? Because if you have that, you are genuinely a strong person. Because that means you have mastered on some level yourself. Right? Now, you don't have to bat 1,000, because Lord knows none of us do. But you have to be able to be like, okay, I'm in charge of this for the most part, and I gotta be conscious enough. And again, accepting that part of yourself is the secret to controlling it. That's just, I know it sounds very zen, but it's true.
It's true. And you never know who's taking a cue from you.
Absolutely. So. Yeah. So I just, and again, so I've learned this, and this podcast won an award also in 2018, an Aurora Award for
2018 was a big year for us.
Yeah, it was. It rocked. Actually, it's been financially, this year has been a big year for me. Right. Yeah. Like I figured out how to make money as a creative. I think I figured it out. And I say that with, like, again, older / wiser, right? Well, right. But what it comes down to, like to the first half of that equation, right? When I was nominated for the award, I was dealing with, I had my first real bout of imposter syndrome. And then I realized the other part of this that scares creatives too. It's not fear of failure is one thing, but we all kind of know what that looks like. We've all fallen off the bicycle. We've all fallen our ass into the snow or whatever accidents we've been through in life. We're familiar with failure. What does success look like?
I just was jotting down on my notes here, define failure, define success. And what I have to work with a lot with the authors that I work with is, what is your definition of success, and quantify that. Two things. I'm a big believer, set reasonable goals. I mean, if you say I'm going to publish this book and be on Oprah, that's not a goal. That's a pipe dream. If you say I'm going to publish this book and
I'll actually have a bit.
Oprah. Wait a minute, hold on.
No. What I would say. This is what I would say. I have a slightly different take on that. I know what you're talking about. You shouldn't just go for the pipe dream right off the bat. Like, it's not going to happen. But one thing I've learned about everything in life, every accomplishment that's possible in this world, there are steps to everything. And right. So now it might not be. Now again, Barry, we neither of us can really say where a hit comes from. No one actually fucking knows that. Right place, right time, whatever, and suddenly you're on all these things yourself.
You reach the tipping point, and it's
But what I've learned dealing with some of the really successful authors in the industry is, right, there is a process to everything. Right. It's just understanding where you're at in the process. I think that's a really reality. Like, I could see myself one day being on Oprah. It's probably not today or tomorrow or next year or the year after, because that's not where I'm aiming for. But I could see a process or a position down the road, or an equivalent. We'll just say an equivalent, where I am meeting these people and suddenly that opportunity presents itself. Right. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. That doesn't mean, but again, going back to what you're saying, just like go back, and then we'll go back and talk to where you're talking about the reasonable goals thing. I think, but again, you shouldn't put that kind of pressure. Like, that's the thing. I think it's the pressure on yourself that if I don't hit this, right, my career is a failure.
Well, yeah. And that's why I say, like, when you're defining your success, what is it? Do you want to sell 1 book a day? Do you want to sell 5 books a day? Do you want to sell 10 books a day? Or are you putting a monetary goal on it, saying I make X amount per paperback sale, X amount per ebook sale, therefore I have to sell 20 copies a week to get to, what I have set this as my goal? How are you going to do that? And that's where, and then that's where a lot of them break down. And like the most,
because again, it's like, well, how do I start that?
How do I start? And like, I often start with the thing about, does anyone know you're writing a book? No. I was like, I suggest you start talking about it. It is like, are you on social media telling people that you're writing a book? No. Well, I suggest you do. Oh, I don't want to be on social media. And that's when I do my spiel of saying Joe Smith doesn't have to be on social media, but Joseph X Smith author kind of has to.
You have to advertise. Like, that's, I mean, the reality of this business, and this is something a lot of, again, creatives struggle with this.
Well, and then also when I say you have to share yourself, they get really nervous saying, I don't want to share all my personal details and everything. I'm like, I get that. That's right. But it's more that you're sharing the process. People love, I don't know if you've read Austin Kleon, Steal Like an Artist.
I haven't read that one, but I have read a variety of different.
His books were just like mind changing when he talked about sharing the process of your creativity. And that's when I started compiling all, like, when your manuscript goes for editing, it gets the hatchet. I mean, stuff just gets chopped because it doesn't advance the plot. It's not necessary. It's fluffy. It's cute. But like all that stuff, it's not like you have to delete it forever. All that stuff that ends up on the cutting room floor, it becomes like, when you get an extended DVD version, all of a sudden you have the director's commentary and you have the cut scenes and you have the bloopers and you have the outtakes and you have the behind the scenes documentary, all that stuff people love. And so I actually put out and compiled 2 collections, which were all just the cut, either the cut material or just real rough outline sketches of the process of writing a book, how it came to be, how characters developed. Like, this was a chapter when so-and-so was actually a doctor. You know him as, you know him with a completely different profession. But when I started out, he started out like this. And in fact, his name was completely different and his background, and you could see how it evolves. People love that stuff. Absolutely. And I found that out too when I started to go talk at book clubs. I was really amazed that if I would be at a book club for like 2 hours, like half the time was spent talking about the book, but then the other half the time was like, people were like, how did you do this? How did you like get this idea? How did you make it happen? Weren't you scared?
Well, just look at this conversation so far. We've mentioned your business in like vaguely, but we're talking about process and us, right? Because here's the thing, like I look at it like this. Your books, but I look at it like this. What you're talking about, like initially, was all the behind the scenes stuff. I kind of call it like the equivalent of showing your baby pictures. Well, this is what it started with, but like, and this is where it became. But it's the intimacy of sharing with your audience what you're doing in an authentic way, and that's what draws people in. It's not you can share anything you want on social media if you want. I wouldn't recommend everything because that's bad.
There are boundaries.
But, yes, but you can share what you want. The question then becomes, and I look at it like this: like, what part of yourself are you comfortable sharing? Because that's the important thing. And then when you give that part away, right, it has to be something that you're authentic, like you're real about, right? It can't just be a cause. I mean, if you care about a cause, sure, talk about it. But it's also gotta be you. It has to be something real and tangible that people can grasp onto, because that is how we connect to each other.
Right? Yeah, and my whole thing is mental health and normalizing mental health in fiction.
Yeah.
Especially so, and that comes from extremely personal experience, working through multiple episodes of anxiety and depression and trauma, and clocking my time on the couch and really being mindful and aware and present in that process. And as soon as I would share it with people, the amount of me too. Oh my God, me too. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. That kind of thing. And so I was like, this needs to be in books more. So all my characters, they're either, they have a therapist, they've been to therapy, they will go to therapy, or they are the therapist. That's really my mission, is to normalize that kind of thing. Normalize having a therapist, normalize being on meds, normalize going to counseling, normalize, having experienced traumatic events and how they can reverberate and echo and trigger in later life if they're not properly, addressed and worked through and resolved. Because if you don't address trauma, it doesn't disappear. It hangs out. You can't bury it. It's just there waiting for you.
The trick is sometimes you got to give. So this is something I've learned from my own experiences, and this something is you got to give people space to process their trauma on their own when they're kind of ready for it. Because there's a point with all of us that we can't carry it anymore. So my teeth up here are fake. So I had an opportunity to go work with one of my heroes. It did not go very well. It was literally my first of like apocalypse in life, because afterwards I went through an incredibly difficult time in my life. I made it through and I survived, but I was harboring feelings of anger and abandonment long after that time was done. And when I went to go, okay, I have to fix my teeth. There came a point where I had to do it. Right? All those feelings came to the surface, but I was also ready to do it. Right? There's like, with people's pain, we have a cup of what we can deal with at points. Right? And then we're okay letting it go. And then there's another point in life where we were like, okay, so I had to deal with my anger with that particular individual. Can't say I did necessarily in the best way, but I did it.
But you did it, yeah.
No. So I'll tell you. So I did a GoFundMe. Okay, I didn't mention their name. I didn't mention any like. You could figure it out if you really wanted to. I didn't describe them personally, but if anyone that knew them knew where they lived and that kind of thing. So now, and in all fairness, I probably honestly I had too much. I was a little too raw on the podcast I did about it. Their first version of it. I still got it. I may release it again someday because it's a little raw for my taste now. But this is what I honestly was feeling at the time. So I have to remember I respect that. So the next day he comes on my Facebook and tries to defend himself. All of it. Now I did not name him. That's the thing. I didn't name him. So he outed.
But he knew it was him.
He absolutely did. I didn't deny it either, right? Again, I'm not going to lie about my feelings, right? But I had to be honest with myself at that point. Like, these are whether real or not, right or not, this is what I felt, right? And he was interrupting my GoFundMe to fix my teeth because I actually asked for help too. So it ended up we kind of worked out a little compromise behind the scenes, but I couldn't completely help myself. I actually asked him why he showed up because I didn't name him. He outed himself in the process.
Right.
So why'd you do that? And he was like about protecting his reputation, which told me he really didn't care about me at all. So I gave him a nice little I'm not going to say I was necessarily mean. I was fair, but I definitely hit him where I knew it would hurt him. I knew where it would hurt. But basically I said, well, if you're worried, if what I'm doing is all about your reputation, then you don't got much of a reputation to worry about. And I hit him for a guy that cares about that sort of thing. I know that stung. Just the way that would hit with him. Right. I knew it. I didn't care because that, again, I'm okay with my feelings. At that point, I dealt with my feelings. We're not friends anymore. And I don't think we're ever going to be again. But it's what I felt at the time, right? And I'm at peace with being that honest about my feelings, if that makes sense.
Totally sense. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, and like I said, that's the thing. So I learned a very valuable lesson there because I didn't realize how angry I was until I actually started really talking about it. Right. You carry it for so long, you get used to it. But the important thing is we unpack things in pieces. We do. We don't unpack it all at once. We just get to a certain point of acceptance. And then we move to the next thing. Then we get to another level of acceptance. Then we move to the next thing, to another level of acceptance. Right. And there comes a point where I'm not going to say completely resolve it, but there comes a point where you are totally at peace with it. And when you get to that point, it's wonderful. Like that particular story, I'm at peace with. We don't need to be friends. We don't need to say hi or exchange Christmas cards. I don't care. This was a moment in time. That was a moment in time. Right?
Right.
Fair. But again, a real event, a real thing, a real process I had to go through personally. Taught me an awful lot about myself. I can be the villain of the story.
Well,
and I'm okay.
All that matters is how you felt at the time. I mean, later you might be able to explain it better.
Oh, yeah.
Later on, you may be able to look back, but it doesn't ever change how you felt at the time.
Oh, no. And I like I said, looking back, and I can be very honest about this, I might have been actually the bigger villain of the story than he was. I can say that honestly. But it doesn't change the feelings I had at the time, like what you just said. It doesn't change them. The feelings were there. The feelings were there for a reason. And I can't fault that guy for feeling the way he felt at that time. So, and that's it. Right. And that's it. And then once you have that, it's like, okay, I can understand why he's upset at me. I can't blame him there either. But I mean, human relationships are complicated that way. Like sometimes with the best of intentions, we hurt each other. It's what happens afterwards.
Yeah.
You're like, yay. So should I be charging you for the hour here?
And how did that make you feel?
That made me feel okay. Like I said, I'm at peace with it now. I'm honest, like I said, I'm honest enough to talk about it. I'm not going to mention them by name on here because I don't. It's no point. He can't defend
because you're
himself.
at peace of it. You're at
Yeah.
peace of it. You moved on.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I don't have a problem. Like I said, and I can say nice things about them and mean it. Because again, they're a human being. This was my
Another nice thing that writing does, it lets it give you an alternate ending that you might not have otherwise had.
Yeah. Well, actually, like one thing I realized after the teeth were fixed, I'm going to take the show on the road in a few short months. I'm breaking 1,000 episodes, and I'm literally doing like the van life, and I'm going to be interviewing people across both countries.
That's awesome.
That's my plan. That's what the Patreon is launching for. Actually, is just so I can start doing that and help do that, right, in some form or fashion. The thing is, the thing is, I realized like that when I was going through my really hard time, there were a lot of people in that town I lived in, right, that helped me. But I was so caught up in what I was going through, I didn't realize it. So somewhere on this trip, probably maybe the second or third stop on the trip, I'm going to stop into that town and thank who I can.
This is your gratitude tour.
Well, something I realized about people in general, we don't say thank you when we should. Sometimes, right? And
too often things go unsaid.
Yeah, too often. So I think it's better to, even if it's sappy, even if it's not something people are necessarily prepared for, thank people. I
think it's always appreciated. I don't think I've ever done that kind of thing where I've reached out. I used to do it a lot when my kids are both grown and out of the house now, but when they were in school, I always made a point of reaching out to their teachers. Especially like, I don't know if they gave extra help or just, just to tell them that they were appreciated. Like my son had this one music teacher, and I think it was 6th grade. And I didn't hear a thing about school. Like, how was school? Fine. Like school did not exist except for Mr. Pendane's class. And it was Mr. Pendane this, Mr. Pendane that, Mr. Pendane the other thing. If life could be just Mr. Pendane's class, he would be so happy. And that would be it. So I just took the time and I wrote him an email. I was like, I got to tell you, school schmool, he could care less, but your class is the center of his universe. And he was just like, thank you, that made my day. I really needed to hear this. And it's so easy. It's so freaking easy. And it doesn't take anything to just tell someone that if you're thinking about someone, just to say, I was thinking about you. I saw XYZ and I thought about you. Or I was just thinking about you and I'm just really grateful that you're around. Thank you. Thank you for being born. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Actually, I'll tell you a fun teacher story I did. It took me a while to do this, but when I published my first book, I did that in 2005. I actually, when I went back to my high school, I found all the teachers that had a major impact in my life, and I gave them a copy as a book as a thank you.
One of my books was translated into French. I sent it to my French teacher. That was like the highlight of my French. She was one of my favorite teachers, and to just do that was a trip.
Yeah, so I did.
My social studies teacher, who might be watching, hi, Mr. Casey, who really instilled in a love of me of history and European history, actually. And so I thought about him a lot when I put out my last book, which was World War II historical fiction. So heavy research. Going into that. And that was one that I was particularly, when that came out to be published, to, actually show to him. And to say, you played a major part. He was one of my favorite teachers. Middle school sucked. I don't know about you, but I don't know anyone who would go back to middle school for $1 million. But there were little glimmers in that cesspool. And I just remember one of them was Mr. Casey's social studies class. He was the young, new, hip teacher. He was 24. But his class was fantastic. I loved his class. And I made a point of telling him, I was like, middle school was really, really tough, but coming to your class was always like a haven. He didn't take any bullshit. It was structured, but he was funny, and the material was interesting. And he was just a really, really good teacher. So and we need more.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is I'm in Canada, so I can't say it was quite the same thing he went through, but there is a brain drain with teachers everywhere. I have I'm a little more paranoid than I was, a few years ago, thanks to the pandemic. There's a part of me, again, I truly prescribe to the George Carlin theory of smart enough to operate the machines, but not smart enough to ask questions why. Right. I do subscribe to that. And I think we can consciously see, especially some states way more so than others, but you can consciously see that there is a deliberate attempt to shut down the ability for students to question how the world works. And you can see that. And the best people qualified to teach them are teachers. But there's, I think stress, time, and a lack of a really good paycheck considering what they do and respect has driven a lot of good teachers away.
Absolutely.
Right. So, but I think I have noticed this with there's like quiet little things happening. Like, whereas like we're in an age of potential decentralization. And I've seen this in a few places. Teachers are now offering services to families specifically. Right. So instead of doing a traditional classroom, you get enough parents to come to an agreement to pay a teacher a certain amount a month. You suddenly have a business, and because homeschooling is very much a viable thing in the States, especially, it's a doable business model. And I think honestly, I could see as time goes on, especially with the way the cost of college and university are going, and things like that, I could definitely see it. The shorthand solution would be to hire a teacher. A bunch of families hiring one teacher to teach their kids.
Interesting.
I can see it. It kind of quietly, like during the Vax Pass era of the pandemic, when some teachers chose to walk away. Like some people chose to walk away with the whole thing. That was something I saw up here. There were teachers quietly making this offer to parents with paychecks. Like, hey, listen, I'll teach your kids for a year if you don't want to deal with this for money. Because again, if you're getting paid either way, who cares? Who cares, right? So, and your kids are still learning. You're in an environment, and it's something. And also the other thing too, Dad, especially down there with all the shootings you have down there, I'm surprised a lot more parents aren't thinking along those lines, actually, because that would solve the problem real quick.
You like? I don't know if anything would solve that problem real quick.
Well, the excess gun problem. No, there's no easy solution to that. But happening in a public school, if no one's in a public school, kind of solves that part of the problem, right?
Yeah, right. We run out of teachers before we run out of students.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, exactly. So I just say that I think along these lines now. Like I do think along these lines is like we're in it. So you talked about like European history. My favorite era is the Renaissance.
Yeah,
that's my favorite era. And one of the reasons it's my favorite era is it was looking for innovative solutions to new technologies and new problems that exist. Right. And I think the United States and Canada's biggest problems are actually older than shit, but there are new ways of dealing.
Really old.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But there are new ways to deal with those solutions. Right. So I am cautiously optimistic about the future. So
good. Excellent.
Yeah. And I'm just curious, what are you writing down? I'm actually
I'm just doodling.
Yeah. You doodle?
Doodling. What?
Do you draw?
I do draw.
What do you draw?
I do a technique called Zentangle.
Okay.
But I actually do I have any? Where are my sketch pads? I like to do mandalas. So I didn't come prepared for this.
I know it's okay. I know I've been noticing this. Like you've been active with your
I've always done that since I was a kid.
Yeah, so that's cool.
Okay, so I do
Oh, wow.
Whoa. Don't spill the whiskey, baby. We don't want to do that. So
I have an author up here you get along famously with.
yeah. So then yeah, don't go thinking that I'm like highfalutin. It's screwball.
No,
Because I'm like white trash. But this is like my mind meditation. But I like to do watercolors, but mostly I like to do those mandalas. Do I have any more? Yeah. Those and watercolor them in. I filled out a lot of journals during the pandemic.
No, I gotcha.
Just keep drawing.
I started drawing during the pandemic.
A lot of people started a lot of things. Like actually my publishing company, we thought that so about April, May, our submissions went, and we were like, we're screwed. Like, everyone's like, because people aren't working, people are cutting back. No way are people going to be like, putting money into producing a book. All of a sudden, June, like exploded. People were coming out of the woodwork with like the manuscript they've been working on for 25 years, or they were writing children's books about the experience of the pandemic. We were busier than fuck.
So I during the pandemic, the person I referred to, that's cool.
These are my.
So
I'm just gonna keep pushing things at the camera. Look.
Hey, listen. Hey, listen. I don't know if you know this. I do drinks and draws on the show.
I did see that. I would love to do drinks and draws.
So I'll tell you what. I'll make you a little bit. I have to be post 1,000. You have to be one of my post 1,000 episodes.
I wanted to be 1,000. I was hoping I was hold off until I was 1,000.
So I'm trying. So I'll tell you. I'm telling you, I'm trying to get a couple big guests for it. I'm only going to hit 1,000 once, right? So I'm trying to get a really.
You're going to do 2,000, and then you're going to do 1,500.
Well, no. I plan on. Hey, again, look at the Patreon. I've already started. I've done so far 7 secret shows with a new format already. I've already been doing that. But I wanted to actually mention, like during the pandemic, right? I started drawing. Mm-hmm. But I also the person I referred to during that period in time was C.S. Lewis, specifically because most people forget during World War II, during World War II when England was being bombed, C.S. Lewis was on the radio, reading from one of his books, which would become Mere Christianity, in a really dark point, and because it looked like London was going to fall. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was one of the most powerful things he's ever done, because on one hand, it's absurd, right? Because who's going to care, like what you were thinking, who's going to care about books at a time like this?
People depend on books at a time like that.
Oh, absolutely. But it's why. And it's something I thought it was, and I realized this really early on. What it is people want a semblance that life isn't all bad and that things will move forward. So when he was doing hope, right? Mm-hmm. So when he was doing that on the radio, he was actually doing one of the most courageous things you can do in a time of fire. Life, I'm still living my life until I can't do this no more.
We're still ready. There's that famous picture of the rubble of the East End, and there's the milkman delivering the milk, and it became really popular again after the subway bombing in London.
Yeah,
as to say, like, excuse us, we're Londoners. This is a Londoner delivering the goddamn milk after the Blitz. You think this bomb in the subway is going to help? Think again.
So, yeah. Like it's but the idea
of that British resilience.
Yeah, the day after we shut down was the first day. It was the first time I did my first audiobook for what would become The Cloud Diver, my novel. Mm-hmm. I started it the day after, because that's when I realized, like, this is something people are going to gravitate to. And then in time, I invited other authors to come in and read their works as well. Mm-hmm. Right. I did it before. I like to say this. I probably was one of the first people to do it. And it was just because I realized that's what's valuable in this moment. Life goes on.
What year was that?
2020.
It was when you wrote your first novel?
Oh, my first novel. I wrote my very first novel in high school. I wrote my very first novel. It's time
Didn't
travel.
we all?
Yeah. And then my second novel, I tried something very stupid, which was I tried to emulate George R.R. Martin's style to tell a story.
Good luck. I have one fantasy novel to my name, and oh my god.
Oh no. I
So
think I could
freaking
do
hard.
I think I could do a fantasy novel. But
It's hard. I'll just tell you.
It's ridiculously hard. But the way he does it is especially hard because he doesn't go with just one narrative. He has so many narratives going so many hard.
I want to see his notebooks. I want to see his notebooks. I want to see the whiteboards like around his room. Like, or does he do that, or is it all in his head? Because if it's all in his head, he's crazy.
Oh yeah,
I love a good heist novel like Leigh Bardugo.
Oh yeah, I love Leigh Bardugo. I got Six of Crows.
Holy cow! When I read Six of Crows, I read it down. We were down at the Jersey Shore, at our house for the week. I had so much anxiety reading that book because it was just one of those things where it was this impossible heist. Everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Absolutely,
they would be in these ridiculous situations, and you're like, there is no way out of this. And I'm like, how do you write that? Do you start at the end and work your way backward? Because that's what is logical to me. I was like, I'm going to start with the solution and jerry-rig my way backward. Or do you start at the beginning and just say, let's see where this goes? So let's throw everything at them.
Can I offer a fun alternative for you? Something you may have never considered? A D&D campaign. So here's what you do. You actually create these characters, you get people to emulate and act it out, and you let the game use game theory to see what goes on, because like in any real life situation, right? Shit, there's no such thing as a perfect, nothing goes perfectly. So what you do is you play it, you game it. You game it out.
LARP it.
Yeah, exactly. LARP it, you game it, whatever the case may be. Right. And you get a picture based on that. And then at some point, because Leah is just an incredibly talented author, so you're like, okay, how can I make this more fun? Because a heist, to me, heist and mysteries are games.
Yeah.
They're games disguised as stories. This is how I look at it, right? So what you're trying to do is you're trying to make as entertaining a story as you can. So with heist books, it's simple. It's like, okay, what is the stupidest thing that could fucking happen here?
And let's make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. And that's so much fun, right? That's so much fun, right?
Well, they get the treasure and they hit the door. The door is bricked up. Great. Okay, what do we do now? And they're behind us. And I'm like,
Exactly. Right. That's the best.
But the book across the room. I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. I can't take it.
But those are the best kind of books, right? Like that. Like they make.
Oh, she's a genius.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Right now, I'm reading Marissa Mayer. I'm reading a book of research. Then I'm reading Marissa Mayer's like finale of her superhero series, which is, man, she's phenomenal. Like I interviewed her on the show a while back. Really, really smart woman. Like just really good imagination, fun stuff. Then I had another person I'm reading right now. I'm not enjoying her quite as much, but I think I realize why. Is Victoria Aveyard. I enjoy her stuff again, but it's not. I find in comparison, I think Victoria, if you ever do listen to this, I do like your stuff. I don't hate it. It's just, it's just I feel the emotional gamut on Mare versus what's going on in Mayer's series. I think Nova is a much more. I feel like it's a much more complex character. Like she has a lot more of an idea who she is. I just finished King's Cage with Aveyard. It's like, okay, you're seeing a little bit more of a balance there. The second book was a bit dry in comparison, and it was just like, okay, I got why it made sense, but it's like comparing the two, it just was like there's a lot more emotion and charm and fun, but again, different series, different tone. And I say this with nothing but respect, because it does take again, as you so eloquently put it, fantasy is hard.
It's
right.
I tore mine apart 3 times and put it back together. But in the end, like people always say, like, what's your favorite book? And I'm not a person who likes favorites. I don't do superlatives well. And each of my book has a label. You know, The Man I Love was first. Larks is my award winner and my bestseller. Charm of Finches is the most important book I will ever write. Scarcity of Condors is my mother's favorite. You know, like each one has like a label, but the fantasy one, The Voyages of True Blood K, is my baby. If the house were on fire, I could grab one book, I would grab that book.
See, so mine, I have two. So it's Alice Zero. So I figured out I matched Alice in Wonderland with Greek mythology. Because I had so here's the thing. I had an epiphany. The story there is I was asked to do a Lewis. Well, I was asked to do a little short poem because I did epic poetry. I accidentally got traditionally published in epic poetry. I'll tell
I accidentally got
traditionally
published.
Yes. Gives me the finger. Living proof that shit sometimes just happens. Hey, like I said, sometimes
it just I tripped and fell down and had an agent.
No, yeah. I didn't have an agent. It was a small press.
Oh, I tripped and fell down and they came to me.
They did. Legit. But anyways, he's like, I hate you. I hate you so much right now. Yeah. But the second one, so because I did that series, right? They asked an editor friend of mine asked me to submit a Lewis Carroll in a poem style, like I did. So I'm asking myself, what the fuck can I say about Lewis Carroll that hasn't already been said? So I wasn't sure. Right? I'm like, what do I say? So I'm thinking about this. I go to a bar and I meet a girl with a Gorgon tattoo on her arm. Right. I hit on her. She plays for the other team. We're actually still friends. It's kind of cool.
Okay.
All right.
Now, let me write this down. Go to bar.
Yeah. So anyway.
Gorgon, hold on. Got to bats for other team.
That's right.
I'm with you. Okay.
So, but we like I said, we talked all night. We're pretty cool. And I asked her, it's like, because you might buy a model. I was like, Medusa can fit in Wonderland. I didn't quite hit that epiphany yet. But she got me thinking along the lines. And then I had this epiphany. This is the epiphany. Alice and Pandora are the same story.
The same story.
Think about it.
I don't know. I'm still like, I just wrote down Medusa in Wonderland. I'm kind of fixated on this.
No.
Is that the title of your book?
No, my title is. You can take it. Go right ahead. Steal it. But I will tell you, Medusa's a badass in my story, so you're gonna have to work hard. She's pre-Gorgon when the story starts, and when I finish the series, it's her journey. But I promise you, it's a better fate than what she got in the real story, in the Greek story.
Medusa got screwed
big time. She I'm not gonna lie, she kind of gets screwed here a little bit too, but she has a lot more of a choice in agency and how. The one thing I always thought that was really unfair about Medusa's story was she really was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. That was legitimately her story. You got seduced by gods the way you're supposed to do. Say no, right?
There is no no.
There is no no. And then he pissed it. Then he pissed off.
Dubious consent at best.
Yes, it's basically the concept of I'm the king, and she's like he is the king. What the fuck do you do, right? So pisses off a goddess who's a bitch, right, and punishes her in like the cruelest way possible. And I'm like, you deserve a better story. Like, you legitimately deserve a better story because you got like. Honestly, I don't think anyone could blame you for what you did, right? And the only person that blamed you is also batshit insane. So, no, I have a lot. Yes, well, I did, but Alice and Pandora are the same story, and I realized that it's like I have my story.
There you go.
Yeah, and I didn't get into the anthology, but the first book did get nominated for the Elgin Award. So
nice.
Yeah.
Was this also in 2018? Was that our big year?
No, that was 2020.
Nice.
This was 2020.
Excellent.
And then 2019 is when I met the girl to go and tattoo. But yeah, it's just one thing led to another, and it was just one of those things where it was just like it was the good thing, and I came up with a really cool story. In my story, Alice opens Pandora's box and gets a certain Cheshire friend inside her head. Right. So it's a different story. And then the first book, Alice plays croquet against Jason of the Argonauts in the Greek underworld.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
And,
cool.
and then the second book is going to be The Houses of Fate and Through the Looking Glass.
You got it all mapped out. I don't even have an idea.
Yeah, I know. You're like, damn it. It's
I know. I got nothing. I got my shingle hung out there. Idea wanted. Inquire within. But it'll come.
It'll come.
It'll come.
So, do you want to hear the story about how I accidentally got traditionally published so you can give me another finger?
How are you? What?
Do you want to hear the story about how I accidentally got traditionally published so you can give me another FU?
Sure.
Yeah. so this was 2014. And
when I first self-published. Go on.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So so when I self-published the book in 2005, met the hero, the author I worked for, went through it like hell. So I was finally ready to start writing again. Like I'd gone through my initial scars, and I was ready to move forward. The first thing I did was a poetry collection. So I kind of want to do something like that. So I had this idea to do a longer poem. So I wrote a story about a slave boy in this like tower and in this compound with dragon masters and his family. He's looking out into the horizon and wondering what was out there. I liked it. I liked it. Right. So I go, what happens next?
It pleases me.
Exactly. No, totally. So I go, okay, what happens next? Right. So he kills his dragon master, goes into the wilderness.
And then he gets traditionally published.
Not yet.
Spoiler
alert,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I would go do another chapter, and it's his first night alone in the wilderness, coming in terms of killing somebody and being absolutely alone. So I was like, this was really, I thought that I had something. So I kept writing it, and I realized that this was my poetry collection. I go to a comic shop. I find a gal I worked with at a Kinko's, of all things. She's now doing art for a comic. And I was like, maybe she would do some illustrations for me. She did. She agreed to do it. We paid her, all that stuff. My plan was to publish on Smashwords and print out and print books as needed for conventions and stuff like that. I was going to go to self-publishing work too.
Right.
So I put it on Smashwords, and someone I interviewed bought it. And she goes to me, "This is really good. What are you going to do with it?" And to which I just told her what I just told you. So she goes to me, "So listen, I just got a deal with Ingram Spark. I'm starting a publishing house. I'll publish your book." And that's how you accidentally get traditionally published.
So what publishing house was it?
Mirror World Publishing, based out of Canada. Small press, but still, yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. So, which
it's so much as who you know. That's my husband's big thing about, networking. And I just came back from a 2-day signing event in New Jersey, and doing these events was truly like one of the game-changing moments. Like, the first one I went to was down in Atlanta. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm sitting at my table with my one book.
Okay.
And that's all I have. I mean, like, everyone has to start somewhere. I'm sitting at the one book. The author next to me has like a storefront with swag and like all this, and I'm just kind of like, oh my God, I don't like this. But you start there, and then the next one I went to, that's when I really realized that there is this community of readers, this incredible community of readers who go to these conventions, and they go with either empty rolling suitcases, or they go with filled suitcases of the books, that they already have that they want to get signed, or they go with 12 by 12 scrapbook pages. They go with canvases. They go with tote bags. They go with anything to go table to table to table to get every author to sign. I mean, they're like, I was like, who are these people? And these are just, there are readers, there are book collectors, which I've learned are two different things. But they're readers and they're book collectors, and they're fans of the authors. I was blown away by this. And so that's what I push a lot of my authors at Dart Frog to do, is I was like, start researching these events, because even if you have one book, it's such a great opportunity to go and network and practice your schmooze and talk about yourself. And if you're introverted, to force yourself out of that comfort zone and figure what's your opening, like, what's an opening line that you feel good about? What's a way to get people to come over your table? What's a way for you to practice talking about your work, and bring a friend. Like I have my assistant, Courtney. Hi, Courtney.
Hi, Courtney.
She's my pal. She can have a conversation with a garden hose. Her husband says she can dissuade a serial killer. But
Yes.
you need that friend. You need that friend who is like socially fearless to be with you. And so, like, when I'm telling my authors, I'm like, bring a friend. Don't bring your flaky, shy friend. Bring the outgoing, friend who can talk to anyone and can talk about your book, because that's really important too. But these, going to these events was really eye-opening.
Well, yeah. Also, the other thing too, and this is where I would tell authors to think a little outside the box. I mentioned Alice in Wonderland, for example, like that. I wrote a mashup. Well, think about where other places you can just go besides book places, where you'll find fans of that kind of thing. Because honestly,
every time you step outside your house is an opportunity. So, like, oh, I got my business card plan, printed out. I'm like, that's great. Are you carrying them with you? Do you have extras in the car? Like, and they're like, oh no, they're in a box in a drawer on my desk. I'm like, well, that does you no good.
Then it's like gun, foot, shoot, right?
Yeah. It's like, carry those cards with you. Start a conversation. By the way, I'm a writer. Be an interesting person who happens to have written a book.
Yeah, or just be a person that happens to write a book. You don't even have to be interesting. You just have to be you, right? And
not you, but hopefully what you are all about will make people say, wow, if she wrote a book.
Oh, absolutely. No,
I want to read it.
No, it's that's just the thing, right? You look at the how do I put this? I find you try to be interesting. I think trying to be interesting is a bad call. Try to be you. You'll find interesting somewhere along the way, and then it'll work for you. I know the be yourself thing sounds incredibly like cliche.
It's very Marlo Thomas.
yeah, but it's true, right? But because okay, I am a loquacious bastard. I can talk for no. I know. I can be an asshole too, but
I'm just carrying this podcast because you're so shy.
Exactly. But not everybody's not as chatty as I am. That's fine. You don't need to be as chatty, but you have to be engaged. Like you have to be willing to engage. And if you're willing to engage, even depending on however you're comfortable doing it, you will find people that resonate with you.
You can engage without talking about yourself too. I mean, like, usually, like, my opening line when I'm getting settled into an event is just to ask them, is this your first time at this event? Did you come here to see someone specific? What do you like to read? Like saying, what, are you having a good time? Who have you seen so far? Like engaging them that way before you bring it around to, well, I write.
Yeah. No,
this. And I try to pitch them the way I like to be pitched, or at least the way I like to be approached if I'm shopping in a store and the sales clerk is like, may I help you? And you're like, eh. And I actually at this last event, I actually printed out my introverts pitch and I put it in a little frame, and I just said, hey, how are you? Like it just wrote it out so they could read it, because not everyone is chatty or wants to talk. And so I just like had it up front. And I noticed a lot of people reading it. It was just like my little pitch, but it was just in written form. And it's, ask me anything, pick up any book, turn it over, skim the pages, look at it. And that worked really well. So
do you want to hear the silliest way I've gotten people to find me?
What?
I put arrows to the street.
You put arrows.
So I did a book signing. And I did everything wrong.
I saw this on Facebook. I saw that you did this. Yeah.
Yeah. It is one of the silliest things. It's one of the silliest things I've ever done. But it worked because people were like, where does this go? Where does this lead?
And
right?
Where did it end up leading? I remember.
To a massage therapy. To a massage therapy place, and it was located in the back of in like the back of a mall. And where I was signing the book, and people would actually follow the arrows all the way to it was awesome to watch that.
Hilarious.
No, but it taught me one of the most valuable lessons I've ever learned about marketing, which is this. Right? If I try to sell you something, you're gonna be like, oh fuck you. No. But I'm like, you want to have some fun? And you're like,
That's why
right.
we have a spin wheel at my table, and so it's just spin to win. It's a bunch of prizes that I just give away.
But even the introvert pitch, that's fun. Like you're not, it's not. Yes, you're pitching kind of, sort of, but what you're really doing is you're engaging the audience
You're
in a
saying, I see, like, you over there who wants to like check out my books but not make eye contact. Good, this is for you. And
exactly.
like, I totally get it. I'm not. It's hard for me to make eye contact too. So
I try to make people do it sometimes with me, because what I find is when you get people used to it, they get bolder, and it's
yeah.
great. It's great. It's great. I like that.
One of
So
our spin wheel prizes is actually, we didn't do it this weekend because it was at a winery and it would have been really bad form to do it, but we usually have shot of wine on the spin wheel.
yeah,
And even if they don't land on spot of wine, like Courtney always like moves it forward. She's like, oh, shot of wine, and that's just a way to toast, and it loosens people up.
Again,
it's like Manischewitz, like something really bad, but actually Manischewitz is really, really good. But
you're not
I have
secretly.
really bad taste in booze. I'm just telling you.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm going to ask this. You're not secretly Canadian, are you?
No, I'm not.
Nah, because you sound like bad taste in booze. All right, right, right. Getting people. Hey, listen, I'm going to come to my table. I'll give you a drink. I mean, that sounds like very, very. some provinces.
Well, the point is just do it. So like a lot of people say, like, I don't drink, and then we just pour a shot of water, and there you go. But
no,
I have to do like, for every, one shot of wine, I have to do 3 shots of water. Otherwise, I will be under the table.
Well, yeah, you'll be under the table, like not even singing. You'll be just slurring your way. Just whatever.
I wrote a really good book, and your hair is so pretty, and oh my god,
it's like, I like your shirt. I love you, and then you just go
shirt. Oh my god, you're so pretty.
and then everybody's looking at you. It's like, are you okay? It's like, no,
that's the table.
yeah, exactly. It's like, no.
Oh my god, where's the table with the wine? And like, that's us over here.
Yeah, it's like, yes,
I know.
Right.
There's been a couple events where, like, like the hotel services, they're kind of like looking at us, and we're like putting the wine under the table, like we're pouring the shots down here, like.
See, I would go the opposite way. I don't need to do that. I just make it completely normal. Screw it. If you're, I'm because.
Well, I don't want to get thrown out of the event,
But no. But sometimes when you're caught, because when you're actually caught, quote unquote caught, right?
See, now that's where Courtney comes in handy, because she can just wait a serial killer. She can walk her way out of that situation.
Oh yeah.
I would just be batting my eyes and be like, "You want a free book? You want a book?"
Yeah. No, yeah, right. See, but that's the other thing. So you just go the opposite way. Well, you've already seen it, so I'm not even going to hide it anymore. I'm just going to I'm going to completely make this normal. Sometimes, no, but I'm serious. I've seen this. Like sometimes, the best way to hide in plain sight is to make it look like just like it's supposed to be this way. Because once you do that, no one's paying attention to you.
Act as if.
Yes, it works. It really does. Yeah. Hiding in plain sight is legitimately the best way to hide. And folks, I'm not advocating anything one way or the other.
Nothing illegal, nothing illicit, nothing immoral, nothing don't walk out of the department store with a dress over your arm.
No, don't. And also don't. Oh man, you just reminded me of a really horrible story, actually. Oh my gosh.
You're dying to tell me now. So
yeah, actually I kind of am. So this is back in like the late 90s in London, Ontario. Not the good London, unfortunately.
Not the good London, but the London, Ontario.
Yeah, that's right. So there was this gentleman that was actually stealing vitamins from stores to sell to other stores. And one time we literally walked in, like this is even more horrible than this sounds.
The great vitamin holdup.
No, it wasn't even a holdup. This is what happened. The server was putting stuff on the shelf. He was literally behind the guy stealing it. I was like, watch this. It's like, you gotta be shitting me, right? But here it was, and it wasn't like, and he was so unabashedly engaged with it, he got out the door, and it was like,
this is a guy with a brass set.
Yes, or just doesn't care, just does not give a shit at all, right? And I watched this, it was just like, wow, and just like, this is true.
I've invested in this story. I want to know more. It's just like Lee Bardugo.
Yeah. No, it's it. Like that's how it goes. Though I've learned this. Like one of the most valuable lessons I've learned in life is if you look like you're hiding something, people get suspicious. But if you just do it, right, you got a better chance of getting away with it. It's kind of a weird thing, but it's true.
Yeah. Does that work socially? Like instead of hiding that you have a crush on someone, just that I like you.
Oh, I find I get away with saying more to women when I'm very upfront with them. Right. I find that it's there's no games. There's it's playful. Again, there has to be respect there.
Yeah.
Or there has to be respect there. You gotta be respectful. But assuming you're respectful and you're very upfront with what you're doing, I have found you get away a lot. You can say a lot more to women and they'll be cool with it when it's upfront. When you're trying to be overt and cute and trying to avoid the like say it but not say it, that's when you get your ass in trouble. But if you're like, listen, I like you, I think I have a bit of a crush on you, right? And I think you're cute. And suddenly you can now you can compliment everything if you want to, and they will let you do it.
Will they?
Yeah, they will. They will. Now again, there's a respect factor with that. There's a respect factor with that.
And I haven't been in the game in a long time.
Yeah. No, but I'm just saying, like, honestly, I will get farther being honest about it and just upfront about it than I will be trying to be cute about it.
I got you.
Right?
Well, that's fair.
Yeah. Right now, again, I have to be respectful. I gotta respect wherever that line is with whomever I'm with, and I don't cross it.
Right.
Then it goes
don't
back.
Be a dick. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. There's
be entertaining, but don't be a dick.
Yeah. Exactly. That's it. That you can be entertaining about it, and you can get away with. Again, I said shit. It's like I can't believe I got away with that. Sometimes I'm right. Sometimes.
I believe that line worked. Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh my god. Seriously. Yeah. Sometimes.
Oh
but
my
again,
god.
you gotta be very clear with what your intentions are, and you also have to be okay. You gotta be confident enough that she can say no to what you're like you if you're going to ask for the number. She can say no, and you got to respect that no, and you got to stay within. Again, this is the thing. You can't wherever her boundary is, you respect it.
Yeah.
But assuming you do that, and assuming you're upfront about it, oh shit, I'm amazed at sometimes the stuff I say, and I'm also amazed I get away with it.
You do want to go out with you? Wait, we're having a date? What?
Yeah, sometimes, right? But it's being honest goes. I find being honest and open is a far. It makes you come across more confident too. Again, and I think that's part of the charm of it. But I'm just like, if I go too far, it's easier to ask forgiveness than it is to ask permission, right? So I might as well be upfront about it. Try not to hide it too much, right? And just be fair and kind of just see where they sit. Let them make the decision because it's obviously, it's up to them at the end of the day in a lot of ways. But again, you can be playful, teasing, engaging, charming. I don't know too many women that don't enjoy attention. All right,
Everyone enjoys attention. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I don't know too many that don't.
Everyone loves being brand new in someone else's eyes. There is nothing like being brand new or just meeting someone who makes you feel seen and kind of just reminds you that, I kind of am an interesting person.
Yeah, no.
Oh my god, it's like heroin. Are you kidding me? It's like a total.
I mean, just take this conversation. We've gone a little over an hour now. Right?
You have? Oh my god, we have. Wow.
Yeah. Scary, huh?
Yeah.
I'm almost good at what I do. Don't tell anybody. But
I sustained a conversation for an hour. Oh my god.
It can be done. It's really it's all about. But here's the thing, okay? I have learned a ton about you in this hour, right? Yourself, you have a very interesting sense of humor. You're very self-deprecating, right? right. But also you're very capable and you know it.
Yes.
Right. That's the biggest thing. So the biggest thing, and this is the closest I'm going to get to hitting on you, right? Is this right? This is the thing I'm going to say. See, this is the thing, and see, look at what you just did, right? You're like, oh, tell me more.
Sorry,
Eyes. So
no.
for you, the biggest thing I notice about you is it's in your eyes. You're very sharp, calculating. You're very, very, very aware of what's going on. You're like, shit, he's on to me. But you analyze everything. You listen. And you're very, very, very aware of what you're capable of. And I think that there is a very quiet confidence. It's not, I'm saying like it's like small. It's just you're a confident person. You carry yourself very well, and you're very capable because you know what you've accomplished. You know what you've done. And that's why I would imagine like you've been as successful as you have in everything you've done.
I show up, I do my work, I do my thing, I know my shit. I am not into drama. I have very low tolerance for, I was just talking about a friend with this, something which I call weaponized incompetence, which is a lot of women and men, but mostly I have noticed I have so little tolerance for it with women who are kind of like banking on their ability to be stupid when I know they are not. And I'm like, why are you acting this way? You know, it just rubs me the wrong way.
Do you want to know why?
I have no patience for it. And I have no patience for people who don't want to, I know this is an overused phrase, but it makes a point. People who don't want to fuck around and find out, like, try. You have information at your fingertips. There is no excuse for not knowing how to do something. I mean, you might not do it well, but like so much information is at your fingertips, and people are like, you know, like, how did you figure out how to do that? I went on the internet and I fucked around and I found out. That's
so I'll tell you my personal pet peeve. This is the pet peeve I've developed today. Like in my day, I'm 40.
today.
Not today. Like in my day and age, in my current day and age.
Okay.
I hate having my time wasted.
Oh God.
Yeah, I hate. No, like honestly, you can be. It is my biggest cardinal sin with people.
I'm happy to say that this meeting could not have been an email.
No, absolutely not.
But no, that's seriously thing when you're kind of like, we're all here on this Zoom call. This could have been taken care of in one.
Yeah. No, no. There's that. But for me, that pisses me off too. That right. Anything that wastes my time pisses me off. Right. But the one I currently hate, the one I absolutely hate the most, is this. When people say, I came back to Calgary, kind of like to reconnect with people, and that has not happened. I'm okay with it by and large. But where I get annoyed is when I go to somebody, hey, let's hang out. And they go, yes, let's hang out. And then when I go to follow up, I hear nothing. I hate that. I like that drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I really don't care if you say yes or no. Pick one. Just pick one. I'm good with it either way, right?
Throw a date out there and let's, go from there. When it gets into a whole back and forth, I'm kind of like, when's good for you? Anytime. Okay, you tell me. And
well, yeah, that's irritating, but that you can work your way through that relatively quickly. Or my other favorite's like, oh, we'll still hang out today, but I just don't have a lot of time. It's like, then why did you even bother me to come today? I just like that's where I'm at. Like I don't
and like with so many things, if it matters to you, you'll find the time. Like people say, how do you have time to write? How do you have time to paint, draw, do a million things? And I'm kind of like, if you love something, if something just drives you and fulfills you and you love it more than anything in the world, you'll find the time. Like I don't watch TV. Everyone's like, oh, have you watched this? Have you watched that? Watch this? And I'm like, I really don't watch. Not really. I really don't. I do not. I don't watch TV.
I have some series I occasionally watch, like from DVD collections from way back in the day. I am so far behind. I think I watched 3 shows right now.
Another pressure, and I have a to-read list. Like
Oh no, so I've been purging stuff like for the last little bit. I purged a whole bunch of books. I purged a whole bunch of CDs. I'm purging my comic collection. because at this point in my life, this is where I've come to. I don't want to waste my time anymore. So if I really like something, I'm really into something, I'm going to find the time for it. If I'm not, I won't.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to be honest about it, right? I'm just going to be completely honest about it. I'm not going to try to pretend. I'm not going to try to be polite. I'm just going to be like, this is where I sit. If you don't want to be here, great. If you want to be here, fantastic. Right. And it's with stuff, it's with all the relationships I have too. Right, which might make me a marginally crazy supervillain by the time I'm 50, but I'm okay with that, right?
How old are you now?
41.
41. Oh, I'm so envious. I'm so envious of people who are turning 40. Like I was talking with Derek.
Yeah.
I love Derek. Hi, Derek. Derek is my little brother. I love Derek. I was like, don't fear your 40s. Oh my God, your 40s are amazing.
No, I'm gonna have, like I said, I'm literally going on taking this show on the road in like 3 months. Like I'm getting my American citizenship, my passport renewed. That's happening. That's happening. I'm looking up going to different American states, seeing what the driver's license requirements are. In June, I'm going to do that. I'm looking for a vehicle. Like I'm saving up for a vehicle for the next couple months, and then come July, I'm hoping to buy a vehicle, like probably a van. I'm hoping to buy a van with like an open roof kind of thing.
Right.
I'm hoping to find that because it's a little awkward to get dressed in the middle, but I'm going on the road. And the reason I'm going on the road is like, I'm looking for where I fit. Like where is, again, it's fuck yes or fuck no. I don't care anymore. I'm going to find a place where I feel like it fits me and I fit it and I'm going to belong. And if I don't find that place, well, guess what? I'll go somewhere else until I do. And I'm not, at this point, like I look at this, my 40s, my 30s, I learned where my confidence were. My 40s is about being as fearless as I possibly can in everything.
Your 30s, I remember as being a decade of hard learning. Just, that's when I became a parent. That's when I did some of the hardest work on myself. A lot of hard learning in your 30s, and then in your 40s, it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to keep all the lessons learned. I'm going to throw all the bullshit over the side. I'm going to stop caring what other people think of me because I don't have time for that shit. And just, I mean, it was unbelievable. And growing up, I remember my mother always said to me that she didn't figure out what the hell she was doing until she was 40. But you don't really appreciate it until you're there. Now the 50s so far, like, the first half of my 50s, I had so many freaking health issues that I can't say, but your 50s, it's a very big transitional era. So like, kids leaving the nest, that kind of transition, you're watching your parents get older, that kind of transition. So but I remember my 40s were just dynamite. Holy crap. So,
but no, like it's
envious.
Yeah. So
41. Don't squander that shit, man.
No, I have no intention of it. Like like I said, I became a freelancer 3 years ago. And it has been great for my confidence because I've learned how to make money for myself as a creative, which is a very, how do I put this? I've again, just watching around me, it's not something a lot of people figure out how to do. And it's right. And so I figured it out. I think I figured it out. And if I figured it out, I can go anywhere I want and do anything I want because I can create
you can work from anywhere. You can choose your destiny.
Yeah, it's right. And that's so appealing to me right now. Right. And I don't want to squander it because I realize, again, I know this better than a lot of people. Your time is short. Your time is very, 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 very short. Yeah. So I don't have the patience anymore for half-assed answers. I just don't. Like that's what it is. I have my time wasted because for me, I just realized it's a lot of half-assed answers. It's about people being dishonest about what they really want. And I hate that shit. Just be honest. I will respect
what you want. And so many people don't know what they want and they want you to pick what they what you think they want, like, oh, I trust your expertise, like, I'll go with your decision, or I really want you to weigh in. And then they end up, like after you put out all this effort, they end up saying, I actually want it this way. And I was like, you couldn't have said that from the start, so, but yes. So many people can't articulate what it is that they want, but that comes with age.
That comes with age somewhat. There's some truth to that, but it's also
your bullshitometer gets a lot better, and your tolerance for drama just goes way down.
Yeah, no,
You don't have time for
I'm
that
done.
shit.
I'm done, right? And
I'm
so it's like
done.
like
I'm done.
yeah.
This is boring. This is,
No,
like,
it's just no, it's not even boring anymore. It's just bullshit.
it's
Why are
just
you doing this?
bullshit. A mature
Yeah.
person would have fixed this with one phone call. What are you doing? What are you doing?
And when they're older than you, like significantly older than you, and they're still doing this, that even pisses you off. You can forgive a 20-year-old.
A
Say again,
20-year-old, that's their job.
yeah, but you can forgive a 20-year-old, right?
Mhm.
But when they're older than you, you're like,
You're 65 and you're still doing this shit? Are you kidding me?
and then at that point, it's like I need boobs now because I
Yeah.
don't want to deal with this shit no more. But that's where I'm at. Like I've hit that point in my life where I think I'm free. I'm going to be
Mhm.
free. I'm going to have fun, and you know, write the best stories I can, and then go meet people in person and hear their stories too. And that's what I want to do.
And I'll be watching the shit out of it, baby.
Would you want to come back if I ever come to your neck of the woods? Would you like to actually do this in person?
If you're ever in New York, baby, yeah.
It'll come. It'll come. All right.
Mhm.
I'm sure.
I can
I'll
get to
look.
the city. I can get to, I don't know what we call upstate New York.
Yeah. I have friends I have friends in the Eastern. I may wait until spring of next year to go because
Mhm.
I, I like the idea of wintering in California on a beach somewhere and hitting on women half my age. Why not have a good time? Right. See, I honestly see it makes you laugh, right? But I'm not bullshitting,
I
right?
think it's half your age plus 7.
Yeah, or
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah,
Something
do
like that.
that,
Right?
do that.
Yeah. But all of which to say, right, at this particular point in my life, like you might as well go out there. You might as well have the time of your life because
Mhm.
it's again, it sounds repetitive, but it's so short.
Yeah.
And if you don't take advantage and go on the adventures you need to go on the adventures of, you're gonna always wonder. I have very few regrets in my life. And I
Right.
want to
If
keep
you
it
keep
that way.
waiting for the perfect time, like I'll do this when, X happens, when Y happens, when Z happens, when I'm more this, when I'm less this, whatever. And that perfect time never comes.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to learn how to freelance, I thought, before I could do it because I
Mhm.
like the mentality required, right? I don't think I could have gone on. It would have been a lot harder to go on the road without that built in me.
Mhm.
But I think I got it. Think
I
so.
think you got it.
Think so. We'll
And
find
if you
out.
don't, I mean, and like, that's another thing, what's the worst that happens?
The worst
Um,
thing that happens is I will flip burgers at a Wendy's somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
you go, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Because you're not afraid to work. Your work ethic is really strong.
No, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to work at all.
Mhm.
I think here's the truly hilarious part with what I do now, since I'm more on the freelancing end than I am the regular job end. Right? People
Mhm.
who've never done it sometimes think I don't work, and I think that's hilarious because they don't realize how much work I put into this. Right?
Yeah.
Right? It takes effort to be independent. It takes effort to go out there and say, "Here I am." It takes effort and discipline to work on your craft.
It's all
Right?
you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's all on you, and you gotta realize this, right? If you want freedom, it is yours, but the price is you got to put the discipline and the desire you have into the things that really matter to you. You
Mhm.
can't be distracted, and that is something that, like, again, we get distracted when we're young. It's just that is a big part of the growing up
Tiny.
process, right? That's a big part of growing up process is figuring out what's important to us.
Yeah.
Once we figure that out, okay, all right, as you say, no time to fuck around.
No.
This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm going to do it, and this is
Look
where I'm going to.
around, determine who and what belongs to you, and act accordingly.
Exactly, exactly. We probably should talk about a book of yours before we go, shouldn't we?
Oh, pick one.
So, what's your latest one?
My latest one? My
Yeah.
latest one was the historical World War II.
So why don't we talk about the historical World War II? Because that's
Because I'd rather talk about Exaltation of Larks, which is my bestseller and my award winner, and the book that
okay. Then we'll do that.
If you're going to come to my work, that's the one that I would recommend.
Okay, then in that case, talk about it. Let's talk about it. So why is that? Actually, that's a good question for you. Why do you think that book did so well, in your opinion?
I think it spoke to a lot of themes in a very different way. I think it spoke to the literary fiction fans in a very romantic way. I think it spoke to the romance community in a very literary way. I think it presented a story of family dynamics, of marriage, of identity, of sexuality, of parenthood, um, all in a kind of saga that was rooted in an event that not a lot of people know about, which is that in Chile in 1973, there was a military takeover of their government. And I only knew it because Sting wrote a song about it called the Cueca
Nice.
Solo. They Dance Alone. That was my first um, the first time I heard anything about it. The second time was when I got into the author Isabel Allende, the Chilean author, who set her books in kind of like an ambiguous South American country, but you kind of knew it was Chile. And she talked to, she always worked the political violence into there.
Yeah.
But one of the heroes of my story is born in Chile in 1973 during the coup. And his parents are arrested and detained by Pinochet's Secret Service. And they are disappeared by the government, and he never sees them again. Now, the coup in Chile happened on September 11th, 1973, which is another thing that not a lot of people know, that there is a Chilean American expat community that experienced the 9/11 in 2001, and it was extremely traumatic for them. And same for this character who flees Chile. He comes and he finds a new family. So there's that real family trope and that found family trope, because he's accepted and he identifies with this new family and he's very loved and he's one of them, he's their son. But there's all this unresolved trauma of the past of losing his real parent. I mean, his parents have disappeared. His mother was pregnant when she was arrested. So he's always wondering, do I have a sibling somewhere in the world that was born in detention? Or did he or she die? What did they do to my mother? Where is my father? What happened to them? He will never know. Which is a lot for 11-year-old to process. In comes the mental health thing, he just kind of shoves all that down. But when 9/11 happens again in 2001 and he's 40 and his wife is in the city and the cell service goes to shit and he doesn't know where she is, he's got an 11-year-old daughter. It all comes bubbling back up to him. So there's the theme of the two 9/11s in there.
Okay.
We have a lot to work with here. So.
No, you did. See, I have a theory. So here's my theory about stories we tell. Like I said, we mentioned this earlier. Our stories are in all our stories, right? Now, I have a theory, and this is I thought about this with pop music, but I think this actually applies to books too. I always wonder why certain artists. For example, I have become a Taylor Swift fan. I have no
shame here. I love Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Hi, Julie.
But the thing is, I realize, but if you look at her field, like her particular type of songs, that is one of the most competitive, like, parts of music out there. There's her, Ariana Grande.
Oh yeah, that pop female. Yeah.
So there's her, Ariana Grande, Beyonce Knowles. Like I'm missing a massive ton of people who are in this space, and she shines. And I was thinking about this, like, why does she shine so much? And it occurred to me, it's like
she tells her story.
Exactly, but it's also that authentic her. Like it's completely authentic.
She tells her story, and she's like, "This is my story. Like, take take this part of it, take all of it, take none of it, move on to the next track. Hate me, love me." But
yeah, she cares about what she writes about. You can tell she genuinely cares about it. So going to you, like I feel this is true in books as well. I think the books that tend to do the best or speak with more readers, whether they like it or dislike it, is something that we genuinely care about close to our heart. So my question to you is this, and then we'll wrap this up. So what about the Chilean event that drew you in? And what about the story that you felt that you really cared about so much that it just translates so well?
I think it's that we all long for we all crave belonging. We all crave belonging to someone. So there's the character who was born in Chile, but there's also a secondary character who is thrown out by his family when they suspect that he's gay. And so there's this ejection from family, and then there's this disappearance of family, and then there's finding a new family. I think we all crave love, we all crave connection, we all crave belonging. And this book touches on every possible way that people can interact and connect. So it's family bonds of blood that turn against you. It's family bonds of blood that disappear because of reasons out of your control, but it's found family that takes you in unconditionally. It's found family that even when you screw up, they still say, you're one of us. It's finding out you're related to someone that you didn't know you were related to, and it not always being a really good thing. So it's kind of like found family when it's a good thing, and found family when it's kind of like, oh shit.
Yep.
There's identity, identity as being Latino American, identity as being bisexual, identity as being straight, identity as being married, but you're also attracted to your best friend. And, how do you handle fidelity? How do you handle those kinds of feelings? How do you handle wanting? And a big theme in the book is that wanting is not having.
Yes.
You can want, everybody wants. Wanting is the human condition. And it's just different ways of looking at marriage, looking at parenthood, looking at guardianship, looking at life. Just life and life's curveballs that get thrown at you. And it's not your traditional happily ever after. Not everybody gets what they want, but everybody kind of gets enough of what they want, and it leaves in a hopeful place. I'm a big fan of the hopefully ever after.
I tend to agree with you on the hopefully ever after. You don't necessarily need a happy ending. I mean, sometimes they are the right endings. They are. But more often than not in life, you get somewhat of a happy ending in some ways, and you get somewhat of a shitty ending in others. You never get like a perfect ending, or if it does happen, it's incredibly rare. It's almost like that's almost the unicorn at the end of the rainbow there, right? Yeah. So, but hope, we all understand hope.
We all understand hope, and we all understand, and it leads you to the next book. So anyway, the book is called An Exaltation of Larks. Sure. It's on Amazon. It's wide. It's on audiobook with dual narration by Darren Elliker and Vanessa De Silvio. That is fantastic. I am so blessed to have those two bring this book to life.
Yes. So I'm trying to actually find a link so people can actually look at it here, and then I can. So
it's the bright red book with the birds on the cover.
Yeah, I was looking at. I didn't look at it through Amazon. I probably should have. I was looking at it actually. I actually Googled you. Actually, believe it or not.
You Googled moi?
I did.
There we go. Cover design by Tracy Kopsakilis, who is awesome. Is it mirror image? Oh, it's mirror image. Turn it around.
I'm just trying to do a scarcity of condors. Call me your answer true. So the fishtails. I found it.
You
Yay. Found it. I am a trained professional, folks. They gave me an award for this. Just remember that. They gave me an award for this or something like this anyway. I pretend I'm a professional and I know what I'm doing. That's a really cool cover, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes, and there's the book for anybody that wants to actually find it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. See, trained professional. I almost know what I'm doing. Right. Awesome. And how can people find you? If they want to actually find you and talk to you and say, hey, Suanne, what's up?
It's SuanneLaqueurWrites.com. Or on Facebook. Find me on Facebook. Suanne Laqueur author, or Suanne Bierman Laqueur.
Yes.
Friend et moi.
Did I get that? Am I good?
You got it. God, you not only say it right, you Spell it right.
So I spelled it up to here the way I saw it on Facebook. But that's the way you actually. Yeah, no. Look at my name again. We're going full circle. Look at my name. See, if right, my name is long. If I can't get your name right, I think there's something to it.
Yeah, one, two, I have 3 U's and 1. I can't even read. 3 U's, 2 E's.
My last name is 13 letters long, so it's a big one.
It takes effort.
It does, but good things come with effort. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Suanne. Oh man, your first name. See, you built me up too high.
Suanne Laqueur has entered the chat. Suanne Laqueur has entered the chat.
You break me right at the freaking end.
Has been thrilled to join you.
I thoroughly enjoyed actually having this conversation. It's been nice.
I enjoyed it too. We met so randomly. We just met like on Derek's comment thread.
Yeah. I just asked you, do you want to come on my show? And you're like,
sure.
Why not? Why not? Right? And then it's like whatever.
I was like, what are we chatting about? Oh, whatever. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna improv. All right.
Okay, last story, then we'll wrap this up. I had a romance author. So this is at When Words Collide in Calgary, Alberta, where I'm at right now. And so I had this booth where people were coming in to be interviewed. I can, like I said, I'm pretty good skill. I can interview anybody. But I will never forget this one romance author comes up. She's like, "Hi, I'm here to be interviewed by you." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, that's cool." Right. And I get her name down. I'm right. And she's like, "Okay, so what are we going to talk about?" We'll figure it out as we go. And the look on her face, oh yeah, no, this is like, what did I get myself into? Yep. Right. One of the best chats I had all weekend. Right. But it's just, I like meeting people. And honestly, it sounds to me like you're, like, all things considered, writing wise, like life wise, you've done amazing for yourself. And honestly, it's awesome to see. You have lots to be proud of.
Thank you so much. This was a treat.
Yeah. So I'm going to try this now. Suanne Laqueur is joining us. See, I know. See, but I have to admit, your first name throws you off more than your last name. I don't know why, but it
funny.
does.
There's a small cadre of people who do call me Swain, but
I don't know why, but it's just the way it is. But anyways, this is Suanne, ladies and gentlemen. She rocks. I'm going to mention 2 things before I go. The first is my Patreon is now live. So for those people wondering, when I hit post episode 1000, I'm going to be taking my show on the road. However, I have already started. So I'm there right now. Yeah, I've already started. Yeah, that's right.
I'm going to do the interpretive dance.
Okay, you do the interpretive dance. So right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have already recorded 7 episodes of the new format of the show, and they've taken these permanent in Calgary, but also been on Okotoks. I'm going to Edmonton at the end of the month as well. So you get to see these episodes in advance. Now, when I go on my quote unquote hiatus after episode 1000, they will be released as audios and on YouTube finally. But by joining the Patreon, you get access to the show right now. You get to ask questions. You get to be mentioned on future episodes once we get into episodes 8, 9, and so on. And this is basically, who do you want? You get to ask questions. You'll get to know who's coming up, and all of it essentially for $5. Now we do have, I know, $5, ladies and gentlemen, $5 USD, not Canadian. Canadian, I'm sorry, right? But $5 USD. Hey, listen, if you looked at our money, you'd understand. Right?
Yeah, my Canadian royalties aren't.
Yeah, I know. You're like, your Canadian royalties, you're laughing, and we're laughing for the same reasons. It's just despair, pure despair. You can't buy. Wait a minute, that's not here or there. But anyway, Patreon's live right now, folks. I'm going to be going into more details over the next few days, and I'll be mentioning this pretty much every episode going forward as we count down to 1,000. And that will do it for this episode. And ladies and gentlemen, on Thursday, I am joined once again by Bobby Nash. Bobby's awesome. Definitely check that out. So for everybody watching, everybody listening, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. And I'll see you guys next time.